Thank you. Morning, everyone. It's really nice to see some old faces, some new faces. I'm Alan, CRO. I also head up product at QuMind as well. I'm going to be looking at how we can leverage AI to maximize insight team impact. It's an area that we feel really passionate about at QuMind. Real quick, who's QuMind? So we're an advanced quant-qual AI-powered insight software business. We've been through a transition which I think a lot of you will share with us, where we've gone from back in 1999 when our CEO, Mark Ursel, founded the business, market research agency, consultancy services, right through to what we are today, which is a platform first with consultancy services business. And we've embraced AI in order to do that. So before we go into topic, what I'm going to try and do today is really bring this to life. So, less about the theory and the what ifs, but let's talk about something that's actually happened in our platform with one of our clients. But before we do that, I love a good stat, so I thought let's start with some of the big challenges that we are all facing and our end clients are facing as well. So I pulled these out, probably not much of a surprise to any of us. So 61% of CEOs expecting revenue to increase in 2025. Interestingly, 37% of those intend to achieve this growth without expanding the workforce. So building on the previous presentation, the commonality there, big challenges that we face in the market research space. Another common one, of course, research budgets continue to be stretched. Insight teams are under immense pressure to do more with less, so hence today's conference. So I'm going to try my best to bring this to life and talk about something that is real in the real world. So I'm just going to set the scene with this particular case study. So as always, quick turnaround. I think a lot of us are probably fed up of hearing that and the challenges that come with it. This was an agency-side platform user who was running a multilingual 8-country survey in the luxury goods sector. They had 4 days for field and analysis, which is just crazy. It was 20 questions, including 5 open-ended. So they're trying to do an awful lot in a very small space of time. 4,000 complete interviews. And the usual outputs, a presentation, insights that are as clear as possible so that it can go up the chain and inform decision making. So what was our solution? So how did we leverage AI? We offered this suite of solutions via our self-serve platform. We started with automated scripting. In field, we offered the data quality cleaning tools. Open-ended, right at the other end, open-ended AI coding and sentiment analysis, text analysis on those 5 open-ended questions so that they would be meaningful to the research. And AI generative reporting and analysis, which we call QAI on our platform. So this is more of the chunky bit now, where we start to look at some the real-world application of this, the reality of using these tools. So I'm going to look at, I'm going to give you a quick intro to each tool to set a bit of context, and then we're going to focus on what are the upsides, what is this AI great at, but equally being really transparent. What are the watch-outs? What do we need to be careful about at this stage? With things. So you'll notice there's an animation here on the far left. So this is our AI scripting tool. The way it works, 3 easy steps, word questionnaire, can be in any format, we don't give you a format, uploaded into the platform, AI scripts it for you. As simple as that, it's instant as well. So if we look at the upsides of this, in this particular case, I'm not saying every case this is the same, the survey programming was 7 times faster. So that's a huge, huge efficiency drive. It means someone is freed up to do something else. So that valuable scripting time was saved. The survey setup, when you looked at it from end to end, so once that question has been created, uploading, and then what comes next to get that survey into the right state. It was done in less than an hour. I'm taking translations out of that for transparency. What were the watch-outs, or what were the learnings in this particular process for this client? AI scripting, it doesn't do all of the scripting. It just doesn't. It's not quite there yet. Our AI did 70% of this particular script. And it can vary. It depends on the complexity of the survey. The 30% that was left over was complex routing, logic. You still need to set your quotas up. You still need a human to do the testing and other human input as well. So you need to validate what the AI is doing and be very wary of what it's doing as well. So Nick before mentioned they were testing AI and it translated it into Italian. It's a good example. If you leave it to its own devices without adding in the human expertise, you could come out with some pretty bad outcomes. On the fieldwork side, as part of our solution was our AI data quality tools. So you just see here on the screen this animation. The way it works is set up a project, launch to your respondents. In this case, it was our panel. The AI in real time, as that data is being collected, is analysing open-ended responses. So it's doing this instantly. Respondents come through and it's qualifying them by giving them a score. So the scoring works by 100% would mean it's 100% bad data. So there's something in that open-ended response that the AI has picked up. It looks at what the question is, looks at the context, looks at how detailed the response, how detailed you would expect it to be. And it gives this ranking and it removes that data in real time. So again, the upside of this is you end up with high quality open-ended responses. You have the ability to, in part, remove the human from the equation. So there's possibilities of removing human error. It's in real time, so you're not getting to the end of field and there's a mad rush because you've just lost 50 respondents and your client is bashing the door down saying, where is my field work? Why have we not finished? You always have the option to override the data. So this goes back to, again, the human. You can't remove the human from the process, or at least not yet. And you need the human looking at it saying, is this bad data that the AI is saying actually bad data? Is there something in there that says that this is useful, I need this for my research? And that brings me to the watch-outs, because we see accuracy levels in this particular space at about 80%. I mean, on this study, it was 80%. Again, being very transparent, it will vary an awful lot. The big challenges, subtle nuances, emotional context, and complex reasoning. These things can trip up the AI. The more complex you get with these open-ended questions, the risks start to increase, and it comes back again to the human input. Whilst it's saving a lot of time, I think lots of us have been here. I've been here earlier on in my career where you were looking at open-ended responses and spending an awful lot of time actually going through line by line, making sure you don't miss anything really important. I think with everything in market research, whether you go to the quality of the respondents, the source, right through to the quality, the setup of the scripting and the outputs, the analysis, what you get out of it is only as good as what you put in. So if you're feeding the machine, or in this case the AI, with bad quality respondents, all you're going to get is a bad output at the end of the day. So I'm going to come to this a bit later actually with some bigger questions about how we do research, and with the advent of AI, how it is challenging the way that we do things as well. And I think opening up a thought piece of is how we currently do it the right way. So just coming to the deliverables side of things. So another animation, just to bring this to life a bit. Within the QuMind platform, this client used our QAI tool, which is generative reporting and analysis. And you'll see there are various different options. You've got the ability to click and generate a summary of the data. You have the option to generate a full report, which is a editable Word, which is exportable. And of course, you've got the ability to query the data, so ask it those questions, open up lines of thought, really dig into the insights there, and feed the curiosity on the research side. So let's look at the upsides in this particular example. Our generative AI is a closed-loop data analysis. So it means that it's not looking at any personal data, of course. It's mentioned earlier. There is a lot of suspect uses going on of ChatGPT, Gemini, and the rest of them out there, where researchers innocently are uploading data that, if you look closely, you may well actually be doing something wrong there on the data protection front or contractual issues. It's a very easy thing to do. Our system's closed loop, so it helps, at least in some part, to mitigate some of that. The AI text analysis that we have in the platform, what it was able to do in this scenario was take what would have been a 3-day task, or you could argue it could have been longer, slightly shorter, and reduce it down into under an hour. So looking at those text responses, making sense of them. In this case, what it did was it picked out key themes. It gave directional understanding to the researchers, so they could understand overall, is it positive, neutral, negative, and then within that, what categories, what key themes were coming out of the research. The generative AI, which you can see on the screen, in this case, made an 80% reduction in the number of required data tables for this particular client. So if you look at, say, the more the non-AI approach, many of us have been there. You're generating endless tables, you're diving into the data, you find interesting lines of query, and you dive even further. It takes a lot of time. It takes various different people who are very specialized. So in this case, the AI was leveraged to reduce the need for that by 80%. And again, it comes back to operational efficiency, time, which drives these cost benefits. It helps with margin. It also enables the client to achieve really tight deadlines. And we can all see it in all the projects that come across our tables. The time given to do them is constantly reducing. It's just a constant non-stop drive down in the industry to do things quicker. What it also does, though, when you think about this 80% reduction in the number of tables and leveraging generative AI, it's also it's a great benefit because it's taking you direct to the insight as well. So you're not digging through tables to find that as much anymore. The AI is opening up very interesting lines of questioning that the researcher would naturally look at and say, okay, that's interesting, I'm going to ask a few more questions there using the querying. I've sort of touched on this already, but the upside is direct and simplified access to always-on insights. So in some circumstances, some users may say, I don't need any DP. I'm going to lead by the generative AI because I just don't have the time. And what that is doing is opening up this more direct and simplified access. It's giving the insights in a way that does inform decision more easily. Watch outs, common theme now, accuracy. So in this case, it varied across the 5 open ends and across the line of closed questioning as well, of course, 70 to 80%. This varies wildly, we've seen across the board. And it's something that it takes us back again to the human input, human knowledge, the value add. And I think this is what, for me, I think for QuMind, what we recognised is whilst the AI drives efficiencies, it does all this great stuff to the bottom line, it speeds things up. It's also adding an awful lot of value to the role of the researcher in the process. It's freeing up time for them to really focus in on where they add the value And I mean, to be quite frank, it's probably making their jobs an awful lot more interesting as well, which I think is a great thing. So just coming to this slide, summarising some of the key takeouts, common themes with AI in general. I mean, really interestingly touched on just before me. AI, it can automate repetitive tasks. I think that's quite obvious to all of us, which leads to insight teams saving time, resources, money, sort of looking at the bottom line, looking at margins. It can deliver as much as 50% overall time saving on average. That's just our lived experience on the QuMind platform. AI can analyse vast amounts of data, so looking at that big data, it can, and again, I think the industry is really clued up on this already. And it provides that valuable and accessible insights to support quicker, informed decisions with the added benefit of, in some instances, reducing human error as well. I think one of the biggest ones here is human expertise. At least for now, it's not going anywhere. I think that's evident in our experience. It is so crucial that the human is involved in this process because that is what maximises the benefits of AI. So running a research project in total isolation, one day we'll get there, the AI will probably do the whole lot and you'll just sit back and watch it. That won't be enough. It will just simply not be enough. You need the human, you need the industry knowledge, you need the soft knowledge, that indirect knowledge that the human brings to the mix. So when you look at the generative AI, there's a reason why we produce an editable Word document, because you just need the human. You take what it produces and you make it better, you add the value as well. Just conscious of time, so I'm going to finish on this one. Whilst I was going through this process, and as a business, our wider team, there's constant questions that are put forward to us from clients, from our own researchers, just being out at these events, at industry events. And one that I think is emerging is the way that we conduct research fit for purpose still. So when you look at the context of AI, why do I particularly say this is AI is blurring the lines between research project milestones. I really believe it is. And if you look at my graph here, you'll see research design survey scripting. Right now there are many businesses out there, including ourselves, who are working on how we incorporate AI at the research design stage. So going right through from anything such as setting your research objectives or getting advice as to what those objectives might look like for a big challenge. And then boiling that down into, well, what questions am I going to ask in my survey design? And then linking it directly into the survey scripting journey rather than having it in two separate milestones. And I think AI is starting to blur the lines in these spaces and reducing the amount of steps and driving these efficiencies that I've spoken about. A few other things that I think are quite interesting lines of thought is the way that we set up research projects, getting the best out of AI. I think there's definitely an awful lot of growing thought about how we conduct research, and then is it getting the most? So is the design, the approach, a few things that I've had lots of recent debates on is, a bit drastic, but is it the death of the survey? There's people out there saying that already. I don't think it is for a while, but do we need a survey with 20 questions anymore? Why can't it be a more conversational, WhatsApp style approach? The last thought here is, do insight inputs need a rethink? So, there was and there is still good use of video, bringing insights to life, making it more accessible to that C-suite, to management. But I think often it's been bogged down by just simply the time it takes to put these videos together and the expertise in the middle to make it look attractive and tick all the boxes. Why can't AI do that and help more of us actually create these video approaches to delivering insight so it is even more accessible and it's done in lightning speed rather than the perhaps hours or days that it takes at the moment. Thank you everyone for listening to me. I hope you found that useful, and I look forward to talking to you all today.
Thank you very much, Alan. I have a question just before it goes to the floor. And I'll pick up on the human bit, and I've been around a long time. And the researcher now, when they're not as close to the process, then they're not checking the questionnaire, checking the script, checking the tables, reading the verbatims. Is there a risk that we dilute the ability of the researcher to present the data passionately and to find the real insights that solve the client's business challenge?
Yes, I think there's a risk. I think what we need to focus on in that particular area is who's the end client and what are they looking to get out of it? And then how do we bring that to life? And how do we use the AI within a research space, within those insights teams? And as long as at some point in the chain, there are those checks and balances and the human input, and it is so crucial, I think. And I think that's going to be the job of management, of different levels in the team, to make sure that these things happen so we don't dilute and we don't end up with what Nick really nicely was saying was just samey stuff and ultimately useless stuff potentially to clients.
Yes.
Hi, thanks for the talk. Sort of a minor question, but of interest to us. You talk about accuracy of the open-ended coding, I think it was. And we get asked about this about our software. It's like, well, how do you assess the accuracy of something? Particularly with open-ended coding, accuracy, that's always been a touchy subject. It's like accuracy compared to what? A trained coder, an untrained coder. I'm just interested because it is something in terms of validation of the AI that clients are always looking for. And I had this yesterday. How accurate is it? And it's like, I don't know. How do you assess that?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I think, I mean, in our experience, we look at, say, the human coder, the experienced coder, and we've run lots of we do parallel runs. We've done our A/B testing, and we've worked out an average. But I think you're very right. I think it's quite subjective, really. For us, it's an A/B test versus the human equivalent expert. But I mean, the bigger questions when certainly from a client perspective, asking what does accurate mean is for the clients to be educated in asking the right questions so they understand what is the baseline being used. So there isn't people out there claiming accuracy levels that are just wrong, and you get to the end of the project and it just really doesn't work out well.
Following on from that, in terms of your categorical data, your closed, your categorical questions, how are you quantifying the accuracy of that? So, because I think the problem would be if you were producing with AI the equivalent of a table, for instance, you might have 70 to 80% accuracy, but it's going to be random as to when it's accurate. So how are you validating the accuracy in that?
Yeah, good question. I mean, from that perspective, we've done a lot of our own internal A/B testing again, looking at what would the human have done and what output would they have created versus what our AI is achieving and what outputs it's creating. And again, it is quite subjective. And I think there's a lot of levels to what you can say is accurate and not. I think the main thing to remember here is the human needs to be in all of this, and there is a human making decisions in this process. And we must not remove the human for all of these reasons. So the validation of the data is happening. The knowledge and expertise is going into the mix, and it is validating this. Because, we could say 70, 80% accuracy, but I think it's going to ultimately be down to the researcher to say, hey, look, I don't think that is the case, and I'm going to layer in the bit that's missing.
Yeah, one more.
Just following on in terms of quality, and in your talk you mentioned about quick turnarounds and maybe the chance for here's a quick thematic pull-out, here's some quick insights within a tight window. Is there a possibility that as the researcher you find plausible insights in a quick window, that seem plausible to the client, but then maybe a year down the line, they find they've diverged from the actual truth on the ground, and you thereby, there's a risk maybe of risking your credibility and trust in that long-term relationship rather than a quick turnaround.
Yes, I think, I mean, what we've seen with these quick turnarounds leveraging AI, so this example from today, is it's often the beginning of a bigger journey. So, you know, they're in a rush to get to the board to deliver something. The board needs some pretty quick, informed decisions. But then you return to the data and it's been mined and further avenues are for. I mean, one question I would sort of fire back at you on that, though, is a human could quite easily do the same error. So you're also looking at a trade-off, you know, do you want the speed and the agility, but being very careful about the human input there? Or do you want the equivalent of the human doing it on the off chance that perhaps it will be a lot more accurate, but it will take a lot more time as well? So hopefully that kind of answers what you're asking. Yeah,
thank you.
Okay, I think we've got time for one final quick question.
A question about the 80% reduction of tables. Does that mean that you feed your tool the raw respondent level data and have that aggregate as opposed to feeding it tables? I guess what I'm getting at is my expectation would be for it to look at more tables if the data is pre-aggregated as opposed to fewer.
So we have a mixture. It's looking at the raw data, but it's also looking at tables that are being generated automatically in the back. So it's combining the two to come up with these outputs.
Thanks.